What's up, YouTube? It's time to make another music pickups video. Today's video will cover the music I picked up in the month of September 2015 and really a little bit of October 2015 because I'm kind of late making this video. Today we'll have a mix of CDs, 7-inch vinyl, and full-length vinyl to go over. So the first thing I picked up is a CD by the Lollipop Shop, and this is a reissue of their 1968 album Just Color. This is a band that I found out about through one of the Nuggets compilations, and it was for their song You Must Be a Witch, which is a really, really awesome garage rock song from the late 60s. So I was thinking that the rest of the album might be about as good. I picked this up, and unfortunately it is not. So I'm sure there's some fans of this album, but overall I didn't really think it stood up that well as an album. But You Must Be a Witch is a great song, so I guess at least check that out, maybe get a 7-inch for that, and call it quits on the Lollipop Shop. The next thing I got is also a little bit disappointing, and this is one of the reunion albums from the mid-90s of the power pop band 2020. 2020 put out two great power pop albums in the late 70s, and a couple more albums in the early 80s that were just whatever, kind of blah as compared to the first couple. But this is something else. This is awful. I was hoping this might rekindle a little bit of the flame, but this is pretty much like adult contemporary and very, very poor. I did not like this album at all. They did one other reunion album after this one, I think in '98, and I'm hesitating to get that one now because this one was so bad. So unfortunately, that's a band that lost steam over the years. This next one I got is another power pop album, and this one was a total surprise. I picked this out of a bargain bin at one of the local CD stores, and I noticed that this was released on Black Vinyl Records, which is the record label of one of my favorite power pop groups, Shoes. And haven't really checked out a whole lot of the other stuff they released on their label, but I learned that this is the one and only album this group, the Critics, put out. The album is called Braintree. And it came out in 1995-ish, I believe. Yep, 1995. This was a band that is from the suburbs of Chicago. I have no idea anything about their history because there's very little on the internet about this group. Like I said, this was their one and only album, and I guess they called it quits, so probably not a whole lot of history to go on beyond that. But this is a really good album. I mean, throughout, it is a very good power pop album with a lot of psych rock touches added to it. Nice production quality. I don't know, I wish there was a vinyl version of this. This is a very hidden gem. If you are interested in this, it looked like there was a couple more copies of this on Amazon for extremely cheap, and I would highly recommend it. It was well worth the $2 or $3 I paid for it. Next thing I got is another album by Mark Lanegan. This is his Mark Lanegan Band project with members of Queens of the Stone Age playing it with him. This is the kind of I guess it's called an EP B-sides type thing. It's called Here Comes That Weird Chill. And it is B-sides from his album Bubblegum. But I honestly think this came out before the album Bubblegum, so maybe it was just stuff from the same sessions. I don't know. Has a couple songs in common with it. It has a really good cover on it by, I can't think of his name. It'll come to me in a second. But has a good cover song on it. Has a couple good originals on it that aren't on the Bubblegum album. And it was actually well worth picking up. It was, again, just kind of a bargain bin find. Next thing I got out of the bargain bin was another album by Das Damon. And this is their third or fourth album, Mousetrap. Haven't had a chance to listen to this one yet, but I did like the album that came before this one, so hopefully this will be pretty good. I think this one came out in 1989, so they were a little bit kind of grunge before grunge was a thing in a way, so I thought they were pretty good from the other stuff I've listened to. This is another album I got out of the bargain bin, and this is the album Firewater by the band Silkworm. Silkworm had a pretty long career throughout the 90s and early 2000s. They put out a lot of records. This, I believe, is considered to be one of their best, and I actually really liked this. This was recorded by Steve Albini, and it has his typical production style. Basically, it's a concept album about alcoholism, and every single song references alcohol in some way, shape, or form. Some very weird artwork on it as well, so you can enjoy that here for a second if you'd like. This was put out on Matador Records. They had a couple albums on Matador, but most of their stuff was put out on Touch and Go Records in Chicago. So, yeah, I don't know if I'll check out a whole lot more of their stuff, considering this is the one that's considered to be the best, but I like this album quite a bit. The next thing I got is a compilation by a band from Topeka, Kansas called The Embarrassment, and this is pretty much their compilation of all their early material from 79 to 83. It's a 2 CD set, so it has all of the official EPs and 7-inch singles they put out during that time, and then a whole lot of live and cover songs and things like that mixed in with it too. Very cool compilation, unfortunately out of print. This came out in the mid-90s. And The Embarrassment is quite good. I wish they'd put out more material, but really, if you own this, you have just about everything they ever put out. So, very nice compilation and a one-stop shop to hear all their material. You're going to hear me talk about this band more in a moment, but this is the first EP by the band Truly. This came out on Sub Pop Records in 1991, and it just has about 4 songs on it, but quite good, and it was really surprising. I was having a hard time finding this anywhere, and I'd happened to check Sub Pop's web store, and apparently they had some dead stock of this still in stock. So I was actually able to order this brand new from Sub Pop Records, probably some stuff that's been sitting around for 25 years. And I couldn't even find a used copy anywhere, so it was kind of weird. But very good stuff here. Next thing I got is the second album by the band Further. I talked about them in one of my prior videos. Very good Pavement, Sonic Youth-ish type indie rock from the early 90s. This album came out in 94 and is really like a double album. It's got about 25 songs on it. Kind of meanders all over the place. There's some definite highlights and some definite filler, but overall, this is a pretty good album and nice companion piece to their first album. Next CD I got is pretty much the only thing by Teenage Fan Club I never bought, and this is their album The King. This is an interesting release. It was very limited production. It was UK only. And the other thing about it is it was immediately deleted by the record label after the day they released it, because pretty much it was released as a joke. It's a lot of in the studio messing around that was done during the same sessions as their classic album Bandwagonesque. And really it's just a bunch of noise along with a Madonna cover thrown in for fun. So interesting release, not something that Teenage Fan Club is normally known for, and I guess they kind of pulled a nice prank on their record label getting them to release this, and then once they found out what it was, they were like, wait a minute, that's not really something that's going to sell too well. So nice to have this. I think there was 1,500 copies of this or something like that made. It's pretty low, so weird to even find this in the US. I found this at a local store, actually. It wasn't even something I had to order offline, but nice to have it. Kind of completes my Teenage Fan Club collection. Again, I'm going to talk about Truly here more in a moment, but this is the release by the singer of Truly, the singer and songwriter of Truly, his one and only solo album from the early 2000s called Someone Somewhere. And aside from the horrible cover art there, it's actually a pretty good album. It's not as heavy as Truly, but it is some pretty good stuff. Nice mix of songs on this album. It's got quite a few songs on it too. It's long like a lot of the Truly albums are also. So you'll hear more about this here in a moment. Next, we'll move on to some 7-inch singles. The first one of these is a single by the band Hum, and this is for their song Coming Home. This is very out of print and very tough to find. A lot of the Hum singles are pretty desirable online. This one I actually got lucky and was in their hometown of Champaign, Illinois, and one of the record stores there had an unsold copy of it from back in the late 90s. So probably something you're not normally going to find in a record store, but I do like to do that, is go to cities where a lot of cool bands came from, and you never know what you're going to find in the local record stores there, because maybe to that local town it's not a rare piece at all. But very good single, and nice to have this. This is off their second major label album, but has a nice B-side that is not on the album, so it's exclusive to this release. Another band you're going to hear me talk about more here in a moment is the band Volcano Suns, but this is their first 7-inch single, and this is for the song Sea Cruise with the B-side Greasy Spine. Very good stuff, and I can definitely recommend this. It's a very cheap single to buy. This is the only Guided by Voices release I picked up this month. As you all know, I do collect a lot of Guided by Voices stuff, so it's kind of a slow month for that collection. But this is for their single, The Official Iron Men Rally Song, which was off their album Under the Bushes, Under the Stars from 1996. Some very, very good exclusive B-sides on this. Deaf Ears is an awesome, heavy song. Why Did You Land is a good one, and so is June Salute You. Kim Deal actually guest stars on June Salute You as well. So, very nice single to pick up. I've owned this on a CD single for many, many years, but I thought I'd like to have the original 7-inch, and very nice piece to the Guided by Voices collection there. I also got one more mid-90s single from Pavement, and this is for their song Spit on a Stranger. This one, it wasn't really a song I knew too well. I believe it came off their very last release, but the B-side on this, And Then, is a really good song. I was surprised by that, how good that song was, and it should really be on one of their albums because it's a fantastic song. So, nice 7-inch here and kind of a good surprise. I got this very cheap and I wasn't really expecting much. Alright, so the album I said I was going to talk more about here is this one. This is the 1995 release by the band Truly, and this is their classic album, Fast Stories from Kid Coma. This is a very, very excellent double LP, and it's about a 73-minute long album, so even on the CD, it fills the CD to the max. This album is really being kind of discovered now as a hidden gem. It did not sell well upon its original release. The CD and the band was signed to Capitol Records. Capitol didn't put any marketing muscle behind them. They let them do what they wanted when they recorded the album, but then they pretty much just ignored it immediately after they released it. So very tough to find, even on CD, and especially the vinyl release, which they licensed to Sub Pop to put out. So this is on Sub Pop vinyl. I got this online actually the day that I went to go see them live. They were doing a 20-year reunion tour to celebrate the release of this album. But it's kind of interesting to be celebrating an album that you really can't buy. Even the CD is very tough to get, and unfortunately this is extremely out of print right now. I had to pay a pretty penny to get this, but I was excited to hear it on vinyl. It's a great album and a high production quality. It's kind of the bridge between grunge rock and psychedelic rock. Very interesting and out of its time for its release in '95. So I guess, again, I've said quite a bit about this album, but it sounds great on vinyl. I did talk to Robert Roth, who I showed you his CD a few minutes ago after the show, and it sounds like they are trying to get some kind of reissue of this on vinyl put together. Maybe for next year, because it was released in the UK after 20 years. I'm sorry, its 20-year anniversary will be next year, not this year. So maybe you'll see this again on vinyl, but for now, I'm happy to have the original on Sub Pop, and very good stuff. The other interesting thing I got at the show, besides Robert Roth's solo CD, is they had no copies of this, of course, because even the band can't get their hands on this, but they had 2 pieces of original promotional material that was used to support the release of this album put out by Capitol Records. So here is a sticker that they had in storage for 20 years, and actually brought some of these to the show to sell. So I was happy to get one of those, so I'm going to put that in my sleeve here with the vinyl. And this is a postcard celebrating the release. So it even has original back on there, Capitol Records, and information about the album being their debut album. The other thing I didn't say about this band is the other 2 members of it. So if you look here, we have Hiro Yamamoto, who was the original bassist for Soundgarden, and Mark Pickerel, who was the original drummer for Screaming Trees. So that got them a lot of press at the time. However, it really was Robert Roth's show. It was his songs they were playing in the band. So very good stuff. Despite the celebrity connection, I don't really think that got them any extra sales. But this album is a hidden gem, and I highly encourage anyone to pick this album up. So the next band I got into this month and really kind of went a little overboard on is this band called Volcano Suns from Boston, Massachusetts. They put out several albums in the late 80s and early 90s, and I got so into them I bought their whole discography this month. So we'll go over those bit by bit here. I've got them in order of when they came out. This is their debut album, and possibly their best, really, called The Bright Orange Years. This came out in 1985 on Homestead Records, and very, very good stuff. The connection about this band that many people would be interested in is this was the project of Peter Prescott, who was the drummer of Mission of Burma. And what I can say about this is it kind of sounds like a cross between Mission of Burma, without all the sound loops and manipulation, and Husker Du at their heaviest. So very good stuff. A lot of noise pop mixed in with some heavier, almost hardcore type stuff. And highly, highly recommend this band. I was surprised I hadn't heard of them before due to the connections and really what they sound like. It's totally up my alley. So definitely I would say start with this album if you can. This is The Bright Orange Years from 1995. Then we move into their second album, and it has this kind of crazy cover on it. The back actually has the information about the album title and the band name. and this is their album All Night Lotus Party. This one came out in 1986 on Homestead Records, and pretty much continues the trend of having a very catchy first song on the album, and then everything after that is way heavier. So I liked this one too. I didn't like it quite as much as Bright Orange Years, but I can recommend it. This one and Bright Orange Years are available on CD. Merge Records reissued those on CD only a few years ago, but as far as vinyl goes, you only have the original releases from the 80s to pick up. So very nice to get that one. So after I bought those and that 7-inch single I showed you earlier, then I found out one of my local stores had their last 4 albums they released, so I bought them all the same day. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to listen to these yet, and some of these don't really get as good of reviews as those first 2, but these are also ones I'm looking forward to checking out. So this is their album from 1987, again, 3rd album in 3rd years, and this one is called Bumper Crop. This one was their last album they released on Homestead Records. So, nice stuff there. Then, in 1988, they switched record labels and now are on SST Records, and this is their album Farced. There was a pretty significant band lineup change for this album from compared to the first few, and they added Bob Weston to the band, who played in several other bands, such as Shellac with Steve Albini, and very good stuff here too, so looking forward to checking that one out. Then we go into their second and final release on SST Records, but this is actually a double album. This one came out in 1989, so this is their album Thing of Beauty. And this one has a great cover of Brian Eno's song Needles in the Camel's Eye. Thought it was really good. I've heard that before I listened to the album. And the other thing that was neat about this one is it has a really thick SST Records catalog, pretty much covering everything they released up to 1989, so I'm looking forward to going through that bit by bit, because SST has put out a ton of my favorite albums. And then they actually skipped a year, because they released, 5 albums in 5 years. They skipped 1990, and then they released their final album in 1991. This is their release, Career and Rock. And this one, they jumped labels again. This one was put out on Touch and Go Records. I've heard the lead song on this one also before, called Blue Rib, and it is another fantastic song. There is a 7-inch single available for that, and I might pick it up just to pretty much say I have everything they released. So, like I said, Volcano Suns, great, heavy, good stuff from the mid to late 80s, and recommend checking this band out. A band that is related in some way to Volcano Suns is this band, Big Dipper. They also came out of the Boston area, and this is their debut EP called Boo Boo. I believe this was put out in 1986. This is also released on Homestead Records, and they actually shared one of their band members with Volcano Suns. So definitely very interconnected bands there, and this is a good EP. I was impressed. They also have a 3 CD compilation that Merge put out a few years ago that pretty much covers their whole discography, so that's a nice easy shortcut into getting the Big Dipper stuff. But I'm slowly getting some of their vinyl releases too, so good stuff there. Then we have another band that's connected to Big Dipper. We're kind of playing 7 degrees of Volcano Suns here. We talked about The Embarrassment earlier, and one of the members from The Embarrassment, who was from Kansas, moved to Boston and joined Big Dipper after this band broke up. This is their classic 1983 EP, Death Travels West. All of these songs are on that on that CD compilation I showed you earlier. But I liked these songs so much I decided I wanted to own this on vinyl. This is very good, heavy indie rock, and recommend this as well. And kind of getting close to the end, I also picked up the new album by Wand. This is a California psych rock band that is very closely related to Ty Segall, if you like that kind of stuff. This is actually their 3rd album they've released in the last 18 months, so they have been very, very prolific. I was actually surprised this was released, because I just bought their 2nd album about 6 months ago when it came out. So this one is a little bit softer than that one, and I actually like this quite a bit. I almost thought the last one, the songwriting got buried in how heavy the songs were, but weird artwork on this one. Not really a fan of the art, but it is a great psych rock album if you like that kind of stuff. I also got the newest album by Superchunk, I Hate Music, on vinyl. I've owned this on CD for a couple years now. It's a good album. And this is actually the deluxe version of it that came with a stencil that you can take and draw with. And also has a bonus 7-inch as well as colored vinyl. So it was a nice little package. Got this on clearance at a record store that was blowing them out. And really, as far as these two Superchunk reunion albums have gone over the last couple years, I actually like them better than their original run of albums. So one of the most welcome reunions, I would say, out there. And finally for this month, I got another of my favorite albums on vinyl. This is the original pressing of the Clean's album Vehicle from 1990. I actually got this at a local record fair, which I don't normally go to those. I would say overall it was pretty much every stereotype you could possibly imagine of record collectors all in one room. Not really the most pleasant environment overall, but not a whole lot in the room that interested me. I mean, it was a whole bunch of cool, like, 60s psych rock 7-inches that they wanted $500 for and crap like that. However, somebody sold me this there, and I was really surprised to find this. I was about to buy the recent reissue of it, but this is the original pressing of it, and I got it for about a third of what its market value is. So that was my one find of the record fair. Maybe I would go back, maybe I wouldn't, because the smell of that room was really gross. So kind of ending the video here on a downer, but that was my thoughts on the record fair culture. So I don't know if any of you have been to record fairs, but I really was kind of put off by it. However, I got a great album out of it, so I'll stop right there. So anyways, hope you guys like this video. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. If there's any other albums I should be checking out, please recommend those in the comments, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.